Good morning, speed gamers around the world. Welcome to Speed Gaming Live 2020. This is the Link to the Past Randomizer tournament. This event, just for the entire duration of the week, we're in the group stages currently. This is Group M, according to the challenge. A match between shadyforce and HayfieldBay. Their first match, together at least. I am Eudaimonistic, joined today by Walther4. How are you doing today, Walther?
I am doing really fine because I'm super excited about this race. Know both of these runners pretty well, and they're both really good. Should be a very well matched matchup here today.
I'm looking forward to seeing how this turns out. Of course, both of these two have participated in quite a few events in general. Nice to get an opportunity to see them in the flesh, but more excited to see their gameplay today more than anything. They've already done their matches against Ninban, I believe. Is that correct?
Yeah, both of them played Nimban yesterday. Hayfield took a loss. I heard that there was apparently a hook shot in left side swamp in that scene, and shadyforce won his race against Nimban. It's this entire group is actually, I checked it out. It looks super even, so it's probably going to be a lot of close races coming up.
Yeah, and their other two members of their group being JP, Brewers fan JP, and Files. So a stacked group to be sure. And as you mentioned, yeah, pretty even across the board. So only the top two of this group can advance into the single elimination bracket. I'm really excited to see how this transpires. Walter, a little bit about the game mode today.
Yeah, so we're doing all of the group stages is open boots. So it's pretty much just like your normal open 7-7 defeat Ganon, except you start with boots, which is a little bit more convenient for the runners and a little bit more fun for everyone, I think.
I like any mode that has boots to start. I think most runners do. Although, I've been seeing a lot of differing opinion on that. Boots, some people are like, it's too easy. You have too many things available to you. But personally, I just like going fast.
Yeah, for sure. Should it's not gonna speed up the seats like to any extreme amounts, but it will make the seats a little bit shorter in general.
Alrighty, well, we have a start here. Looks like we'll have a little bit of lining up the streams, but we have a red boomerang in Link's house as HayfieldBay heads that direction, and the mouse cursor from shadyforce is going to give us a book from the sanctuary.
Yeah, it's always interesting when you get booked that early. Does give you that little bit rare potential of maybe checking pedestal before going into Kakariko.
Yeah, it's definitely on the table. We're going to map check here. Green Pendant at Hera and 6 Crystal on Eastern Palace, Desert being just a regular one.
Yeah, Hayfield is doing something that's starting to become slightly a bit meta in open boots, which is just heading straight over to Sashrala right away instead of going up to Uncle. Kind of the same idea. You get a couple of checks early, and most of the times you kind of want to do Sashrala before you go to Dark World anyways, but you might not want to go into Eastern. So you said when you have the boots, the trip over here becomes less painful for sure.
Yeah, that is something to keep in mind as well, that, a lot of these bomb locations that we would normally be farming bombs for, certainly irrelevant. There's only certain, cracks in the wall you have to destroy with a bomb, as opposed to a boots bonk. So HayfieldBay, at least getting the information and a little bit of cash, might be able to buy bombs if he needs to.
Yeah, and meanwhile, Shada was heading up towards doing the bonk rocks and then up to the lumberjack, and a little bit more of a standard route here. Does get a couple of bombs in the Lost Forest, so that's nice. We're gonna have that going into Kakariko. There's of course a couple of bonk rocks right before Kakariko where you could farm bombs if you don't find any. Now that we start with boots. But yeah, always nice when you can skip that and get the bombs right away instead.
You're not wrong. We did start with bonks and books.
Yeah, this is true.
Well, a little bit more information being uncovered. Tier 1 of our tree pull going to be just 10 arrows today, which is kind of handy if you find that bow. And of course, the bush crab only going to give us some small magic decanters, as HayfieldBay also finds out, same as shadyforce, that we'll not need Aghanim for the item.
And it's always a little bit of a relief to see that you might not have to do Aga, but then of course it could be just Dark World Access Aga instead. Get a nice hook shot there. Not gonna really unlock anything quite yet, but it's definitely gonna be nice to have later on in the seed.
Yeah, in terms of progression, I think most people feel very at ease when they find a hook shot. It just gives you a lot of the world with the East Death Mountain, knowing that you can, finish Swamp if you end up having to do it. And I got to
Mhm.
Shadyforce really has his index finger on these medallions so far, though, because we have both Quake and Ether so far.
Yeah, probably gonna mean that both of those medallion dungeons are gonna be penance, maybe.
Yeah, so besides the early Light World map check, we still haven't had an opportunity, of course, just 3 minutes into the race, to see what the Dark World looks like. But we do have an Ice Rod here in the well.
Yep, that probably confirms Tartark is a penance for sure. Obviously, it's not necessarily true, but it's just a little bit of rando jokes here.
Well, with just enough cash, we find out that the bottle vendor, did he give us an actual bottle?
I think it did, which is pretty convenient since the main progression that bottle unlocks is right here in Kakariko.
Yeah, so the convenient wombo combo of the two things in one, you don't have to come back here for any particular items anytime soon. So this will now become a Dark World access point later on. 10 arrows is not the best reward, but at the bare minimum, we're not thinking about it later.
Yeah, the worst thing is when you go early to Kakariko and then the first thing you find afterward is a bottle and you're like, oh, well, okay. Now we have something isolated already.
I would think I was mistaken. It's bombs and the bottle vendor. We found a bottle elsewhere. But we will continue this route south of the village. I can't think that HayfieldBay would go any different direction. More bombs, actually, probably worth grabbing. For shadyforce, at least, because he's not going to cap out with that. HayfieldBay will have the same count leaving. So I imagine they check race game and then diverge, or at least head south from there.
Yeah, and definitely nice having that little bit of extra bombs now before we have any more reliable weapons. You could take care of the mini mold arms in South Shore with the hookshot, but the hookshot won't kill anything. I mean, everything.
But I mean, that is another piece of information. If we do kill enemies using that hookshot, well, we don't. Yeah, you have a good point. We don't have a better weapon. Say if we needed to bomb something and we hookshot it first, we might find a stun prize, and stun prize today might end up being relevant. We really don't have cash to work with.
Yeah, Shady not having a single rupee after that Kakariko trip.
I mean, is that efficiency? Is that time not spent? I mean, it's kind of a scary situation for anyone to be in.
Yeah, it could be a little bit of both. There's 5, so let's gonna skip that. I don't blame him. It's not like he's gonna end up with 495 rupees right before Sword here, of course.
Well, on the bright side, you can at least count on not having any extra lag from the rupee counter. That's like the most fringe thing possible to get out of that, but
yeah, I mean, you take every little bit of time save you can get, I guess.
All right, well, a bit of a hybrid strat here in Mini Moldorm Cave for shadyforce. HayfieldBay just going to have to use that hookshot, having a much more favorable RNG pattern, to be honest.
Yeah, it's pretty nice in all of the matches here in SpeedGaming Live. Quick swap will be enabled, so that kind of like opens up some of those menu switches to be a little bit more efficient. You don't really have to worry about losing time.
And on the other hand, we've seen quite a lot of not efficient quick swapping between this, the league, the ladder. It's definitely something people are learning to get used to lately. Because while in theory it does save you a lot of time, a lot of people have refined their menuing over the years. So we've seen some interesting gaffes.
Yeah, it's definitely the risk you take, for sure. I mean, that's kind of like a rite of passage. You're not really a quick swapper until you menued out of until you mirrored out on a boss or something like that.
Yup. And it's always something like Vitreous too. Like it's got to be the most painful one.
Oh yeah, for sure. So except for that opening, a little bit of divergence here now. Shady did set up a water walk to be able to get the waterfall here, but no Rupee still won't be able to get Sora. Let's get 2
Whoa.
swords out of here. So that's a pretty good payoff already. Don't even have to be too scared about Aghanim quite yet, because they're not in logic yet. If we do find flippers, they will be, though.
So a bit of a double click here going on for Shadyforce in that waterfall cave. He is not going to hold on and save his progress though with the or not. He's not going to make a save. He's going to save and quit and get the heck out of Zora because he does not have any cash to work with.
And looks like with these swords, gonna just head straight for the castle here, do the little bit more traditional escape sequence.
I like this choice. It's just things you can do. Doing this with bombs is arduous, it's slow, and this is something that if you don't think your opponent would likely have done this sequence break right away, represents a potential advantage in routing. In the meantime, getting some weird space-time manipulation here out of HayfieldBay using that hook shot in Desert has the opportunity to do everything except for whatever's behind a lamp and glove. So that'll at least get us an idea of what's going on with this dungeon. As it is a green pendant, this is pretty much a play for items, I have to imagine. I don't know, Walter. What do you think of the desert play?
Say again?
What do you think of the desert play here?
I think it makes a bit more sense for Hayfield to be lane here since it is a pendant, because you might not ever have to come back. But otherwise, I do like kind of just ignoring it for maybe a slight bit of time, just to see if you can maybe do it in one go.
Because I gotta think like there are some things that you can benefit from having here, like mirror, obviously the required items for the dungeon, but having the boots is kind of the big thing to make sure you can at least check the front.
Oh, that's a pair of vanilla gloves there.
Huh. How about that? So HayfieldBay getting a piece of the puzzle that can lead us over towards those swords. Of course, flippers must be somewhere reasonable, I have to think, unless this game expects us to go without them for a while. There could be some dirty flippers stuck underneath the grove.
Yeah, it could be for sure. Yeah, we did get both items out of the desert, but a good pickup from chat there. The music in the desert actually did sound like a crystal, so I think maybe our green pendant was one of the other light world dungeons.
Oh yeah, I believe it was Hera. Yeah, so we'll when we end up in the mountain, we'll confirm that as well, because I don't think either of these two are going to recheck their map. But yeah, that's important because if you may end up finding, say, a lamp in desert or both lamp and gloves. So HayfieldBay making a choice to try and do a kind of a risky situation, but definitely one that could pay out. And the gloves, I would say, paid out. He's heading up to the mountain first. Now, this is a bit of a difference here, though. We are going to see Shadyforce go all the way into Eastern proper. Does not have the ability to finish the dungeon yet, unless we see some vanilla bows or close to vanilla bows. HayfieldBay will end up getting a save and quit point onto this check, so that'll make subsequent mountain trips a lot easier.
Yeah, we have a pretty good chance at least that there is progression in here, because I think it kind of has to be here or back of escape at this point. But it's quite likely that the progression would just be a way to get up Death Mountain, and that mirror would certainly help on Death Mountain as well.
Yeah. Well, mirror, very handy because if you want to leave the dungeon and run elsewhere. But I think you probably save and quit out of this dungeon once you're done here.
Yeah, with no flute, there's really no reason not to.
I did not catch what that was in Eastern. Did you see that last item?
Yeah, it was. If you look carefully at shadyforce sprite here, you can see that it didn't change at all. That's because you found the blue mail, and I guess the cursor sprite just has the same design for all of the mail upgrades.
Well, that's fun. He'll definitely remember that. Maybe it's in his clipboard. Meanwhile, Paradox Cave for HayfieldBay, 7 checks all in one, and then of course we have Spiral Cave available immediately after.
Yeah, definitely a nice big chunk of items up here. Ooh, okay, Titansmiths, that does give us Darkwood access. Still kind of a little bit out of logic. But, ooh, Hammer as well. Very nice Spectacle Rock for sure. And is actually going to be able to do a lot more on the mountain now as well.
Yeah, not only that, but also getting within striking distance of Zora later, so more reasons that HayfieldBay is likely to end up finding those swords before too much longer. The lack of mirror from Eastern might delay that a bit, though, if he ends up trying to take a Dark World route to Catfish or something like that before going Eastern.
Yeah, I would kind of assume that Hayfield might just go into the Dark World before doing that. Did not do Ice Road Cave though, so might actually head over there, and that would be the opportunity to go for Sora.
But I gotta say, though, quite the bounty here on Death Mountain. We will see how long it takes Shadyforce to end up there, but Hayfield with a demonstrable progressive lead at the moment.
Yeah, for sure. So no mirror. It's gonna have to make a little bit of a decision here on. We want to head over to Hera before going into a Dark World. Hera is a pendant, and so it's like not the most desirable place to go, but it's a little bit scary to not go there without the mirror. But it's gonna skip it for now.
Yeah, and you can always hedge your bets there too, as well, with the hook shot if you know the bomb setup for Harapot. So I mean, there's a couple of options available to him if he comes back later. Well, there's the Agina's cave check for Shadyforce. It looks like he's about to head into desert if he's dashing out of the cave, so he'll get his power glove there and likely join HayfieldBay on the mountain. Though I think HayfieldBay will probably be long gone from here by then.
Yeah, I think this is already an early last location for Shady, but since this is the last location, does mean that he managed to pick up that mirror before getting over here. So that's going to be a nice advantage to have going into Dark World.
Alrighty, there's our map check. We're going to have pendants on Thieves Town and Turtle Rock. Interesting that you called that one. And Skull Woods is going to be our other 5-6.
Yeah, I'm fairly confident that the rando is just like 100% sentient and has a very good sense of humor.
I would agree on the sense of humor part. Sentience, yeah, probably that too. We also find out that Quake is our access to Turtle Rock, so we have the means to open it. Not quite the stuff we need to go through it, though. I mean, at this point, HayfieldBay can't even use the medallion to open it, even though he has it.
Yeah, which is kind of interesting. And probably why Hayfield just decided to take the portal at the bottom of that mountain, because even if you had the right medallion, you don't have the sword.
We don't see that come up too often, but on occasion.
Right, so we are going to head into the Dark World here. Try to do a hammer dash there. The lack of sword, though. Can't hammer dash without it.
That is always the least fun part about item dashing, is that, like, you know, when you don't have a sword, none of the fun stuff can be done. Is it just me, or do these runners have, like, poker faces when they find these important items? I mean, Fire Rod, not even a single eyebrow raise out of HayfieldBay.
Yeah, I mean, we're just relocating all the brain power into execution and routing right now.
Too much IQ spent on the game, not enough on showmanship.
Yeah, you gotta make those 5-head plays.
This is totally the commentator remark to make, not the runner remark. I did see a bit of a sigh of, I don't know, despair out of shadyforce for going into the back of, oh wow, going towards Dark Cross, but HayfieldBay poker faced again as he picks up the Cane of Samaria from Stumpy. Wow, we were talking about Turtle Rock just a second ago.
Yeah, that sure is something that we could out of logic beat right now. I gotta say I'm a little bit perplexed for where the axis of the mountain should have been, because I feel like we've seen everything as well, 0 and 1, but I might have missed something along the way.
Yeah, that's a tough question to answer. I mean, we had a power glove. We saw the hammer up top in Paradox Cave. There was no means to get there. So, lacking a flute or a lamp, what would there be even? That is a good question.
Yeah, it's gotta be Sora. Has either a flute or a lamp.
Or even, yeah, so that would have to be it. Which is interesting because flippers would also be somewhere else in the world. We were expected to be swordless for quite a while.
Yeah, so Shady should actually have that information right now, but lacks the money as of right now, so probably not gonna head back there until a little bit later during the Dark World trip, most likely. Up to
I gotta say, it's the worst feeling when you have boots and you can't item dash the peg cave.
Yeah, that's always a sad moment when that happens.
But HayfieldBay is able to check these things, the first into the Dark World, by quite a margin. He does have a hefty advantage in terms of being able to check the world. Whether or not this translates into more items sooner, we've already seen some. Whether he can turn that into crystals is another story. Without that sword, he's in dire straits, but he is finding everything.
Yeah, that bow is a good pickup. Gotta direct him to Eastern a little bit sooner than otherwise. So that's gonna be a nice pickup for the mirror. Might not head there straight away, but probably within a reasonable amount of time.
Now, this is interesting. This has to be a first 4 check, because without a sword, and really any reliable way outside of hammer to beat blind, well, maybe he's planning on a hammer blind.
Yeah, could be.
I think the conventional play for a lot of runners these days, though, is to check the front 4 and get the heck out of here. And there are those flippers.
There's the flippers, okay. Yeah, it is a pendant, so probably not super enticing to go to the back at that point anyways.
So, I mean, we're 21 minutes into the race. HayfieldBay, despite not having a sword, probably feels pretty comfy right now, a little confident. You're not going to see it on his face, but this is definitely a comfortable place to be when you're looking through for items.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, Hayfield is starting to get pretty close to go mode already. I think all that we need is a flute and maybe one more medallion for no mode, and Hayfield might get that mirror fairly soon as well. If Shady takes a similar route to Hayfield in the Dark World, he would be getting very close to go mode quite soon as well.
Saw a pretty interesting reaction out of shadyforce from finding all those items in Paradox Cave. I think he realizes that it was accessible a bit earlier, if he had followed that book. So we'll see if this impacts his routing at all. See, he actually has the ability to open this, so he will actually open up Turtle Rock.
Yep, probably not going to be super happy with seeing it a pendant, but won't actually be able to enter it, just opening up right now anyways.
All right, well, if you're in HayfieldBay's shoes, which of these 7 flipping items do you check off of?
Looks like it might be an Eastern play first. That's going to pay off pretty well. Gonna get the crystal and also pick up that mirror. Then could just head straight into pod after that as well. So Sora has to be a lamp or a flute, which means if it's the flute, we could be in no mode already.
Yeah, that would be big. We do, of course, know that the mirror is here in Eastern, so actually really advantageous for Hayfield to be jumping in here first. Normally, you'd want to do pod, but, we know, having seen shadyforce in here, that this is the superior route.
Yeah, Hayfield will have a bit of other locations to check as well in the light world before knowing exactly where the mountain axis has to be. But shadyforce should know it's either a lamp or a flute on Sora right now.
Yeah, I think the rough part about it is that shadyforce has already been in the neighborhood, so may not want to head back there until he has to.
Yeah, it won't be super important for Shady to do that until he's just one item away from go mode.
On the other hand, though, this could be a situation where HayfieldBay, with so much of the world to access, might just end up being away from those swords for a lengthy juncture. I can't see anybody wanting to do Catfish, and he probably realizes at this point Zora was an important component. I think that would be his best hope of finding those swords anytime soon.
Yeah, I would say after pod, there's a potential he might head over to the pyramid and then mirrors to do Hyrule Castle at the same time. And at that point, you're pretty close to just head up to Catfish. That would probably be the best opportunity.
It looks like shadyforce is going to make his way over to Hype Cave. This is a really great route for him because he's going to find the Fire Rod, the Cane of Samaria, the Bow, all in one sequence. And I imagine the flippers if he checks into Thieves Town. It'd be interesting to see if he skips those flippers.
Yeah, I think skipping the back is pretty common if it's a pendant. Skipping the first 4 though that's a little bit scary because they're so easy and accessible to just grab right away. It doesn't cost you that much time, especially not when you have boots.
Yeah, absolutely. And I gotta say, for the lack of sword right now on HayfieldBay's side, he's done a pretty good job of navigating Eastern. There's been quite a lot of really sketchy rooms to deal with, and has handled it pretty well overall, in my opinion. We'll use Cane of Samaria here for some easy kills. Unfortunately, RNG didn't work out for him, but definitely trying to make the most of it.
Yeah, backup plan is always nice, just picking up those tempered pots.
Unfortunately, a little bit of an extra arrow there, but that will be still a pretty fast kill. Just a couple extra arrows used. So I believe that's our first crystal of the match. 26.5 minutes in.
Yeah, well, 26 minutes, that's not that bad for a first crystal, but it's kind of funny seeing how many crystals we have open at the moment.
So no save and quit. I think this is exactly what you were saying. Palace of Darkness immediately following here for HayfieldBay. Kind of a scary dungeon to be in without a lamp if you don't have a sword.
Yes, actually, just about to say that as well. Definitely have to be a little bit careful. Even the turtle room could be a little bit scary, but with the fire rod, at least the turtle room is a little bit more doable.
Yeah, that's a good point. Of course, logic these days does assume that if you have the fire rod and there's a torch available in the room, that you can clear it. Now, a turtle room in the basement will never require that because you don't have a torch available before that.
Yeah, I think A lot of runners are probably happy that that's the case.
There would be too many lamps on Helmasaur King in that scenario. Looks like we'll get a Smith chain check as well from shadyforce, having already had the mirror for this sequence, which HayfieldBay earlier did not. So, assuming he doesn't take this all the way south with the purple chest, ooh, and he gets the item dash as well to work with. Assuming he doesn't head back south, though, he should be able to get his bow and flippers here shortly. Alrighty, well, the shooter room of Palace of Darkness is going to tell us more about the dungeon. You were supposed to have the bow walking in here, at least, so extra visit not required necessarily.
Yeah, it's a good thing we have that bow with us. The question is if we're gonna find anything interesting in here. Bombos is I think one of the biggest question marks right now, because it could be required, but it could also be nothing. And then like the other one is if there's a flute or a lamp on Sora, because if it's the lamp, then all of a sudden we have a big surge going on for that flute as well.
Yeah, and the lamp wouldn't be hard to believe either. I mean, that would allow us to get up to the mountain, kind of give us all the things we need. I think the flute is the superior item if you're looking for them. Neither of these runners are going to need necessarily a lamp. So it occurs to me, Walter, that we may have some viewers here who are a little less familiar with Link to the Past Randomizer. Just to kind of briefly explain, these two are running the exact same seed. This is randomized jumble items all over Hyrule. Yes, RNG is a factor, but really it's their ability to parse the seed and understand what the logical expectations are. We've seen, for example, a couple of items, Zora, which has either our flute or lamp by logic, or the swords and waterfall fairy nearby. Little things like that and how you read through it are definitely a determining factor who's going to be better at this. Of course, you do have to play the game well, too.
For sure. Yeah, I believe there was a mystical time where they used to do random races with different seeds, and quite quickly realized that that's not the ideal way of doing it.
Hey, back in our day, we used to have seed numbers. I'm really dating myself with that reference.
Yeah, that would be kind of crazy to think about nowadays.
Hey, and there was a time when we didn't even randomize crystals and pendants.
I mean, at least that makes a little bit more sense.
It really goes to show how much work and effort's been put into this randomizer over the years, though. Just the fact that the patch works so well, you can, add your own music to it, and there's a lamp in the dark.
Oh, okay. So that means Sora has to have the flute. Or something leading to the flute.
Yeah, because we figured out earlier there's one of those two items. It had to be.
Oh, there's
that's
bombs too. So we're actually in no mode at 31 minutes, which is kind of wild.
And really all HayfieldBay needs at this point is to go to that Zora area. I mean, we know there's two swords in the cave nearby.
Yeah, Hayfield should have all the information that he needs to narrow down where the flute is. He should know that it has to be the castle or Sora. But he's probably still going to check the chest here, because he does need swords. He's missing that, but he will find it if he goes to Sora.
I gotta say, though, I'm sure shadyforce at this point is feeling the pressure. He is, of course, doing Skullwoods because it's accessible to him. No reason not to. But this is more checks compared to HayfieldBay, who is probably isolated exactly where he needs to go. So, assuming that shadyforce continues to complete things that are doable, but not necessarily, the first thing he needs to get done, I think that represents a distinct advantage for HayfieldBay in this race.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Hayfield didn't have the sword when he went to Outcast, so Skullwoods wasn't very enticing, because Sure, you could maybe get both items, but you wouldn't be able to beat the boss. So I think it made a lot of sense for him to skip it, just as it made a lot of sense for Shady to pursue it.
I gotta say, it's very bold of shadyforce, even with Blue Mail, to be doing this Master Sword fight. He doesn't have a lot of magic to work with, but it speaks to his experience in other formats. He is well known for, participating in the NMG community, so he's not intimidated by Mothula, but he's got to watch out here.
Yeah, and down to one hit KO now, so definitely gonna have to be a little bit careful. Nothing in those bottles as well. Did switch over to the hammer. Ooh, does take a side hit there though. And out of magic as well, which makes going back a little bit more awkward. You would have to farm in order to be able to do the rooms leading up to Mothula.
Smart heads-up choice to at least make sure he gets what's under the bridge, but that's a rough situation for him to be in. I did like to see, though, the death sprite for the cursors of Blue Screen of Death. That was pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's the scariest thing that you can ever see, for sure.
Yeah, so he is out of there. Now, the good news, of course, is that better equipped, Mothula is a very fast fight if you have, say, Tempered and more magic to work with, so a wise choice, as you mentioned. Farming that magic, not fun. In the meantime, though, HayfieldBay here with the Helmosaur King fight with very little health to his name.
Yeah, it does have that Blue Mill as well, so at least only takes 1 heart of damage instead of 2. Does make him a lot more safe than with the Green Mail, at least. Still have to watch out, of course. Doing it swordless as well, so have to choose between hammer or bow in the last phase here, and the bow is definitely a bit more safe.
Yeah, the hard part about doing that with hammer is you have to get extremely close to Helmosaur King when you don't have a sword at your disposal. The sword actually impacts the hammer's range. Makes it so you can kind of like repel off of him if you are misaligned. So very good job of HayfieldBay to stay composed in that fight, as we see a bit of a high five here.
Yeah, and this is actually good for Shady. He should get the rest of his information as well, that Sora will have his go mode when he's done in pod here. And yeah, Hayfield is just going to save and quit right away and head towards the castle. See if he can find a fluid here. Might do the front of the castle after this, and after that should know Sora is the play.
Here in the back, not a whole lot. We do get our first shield, which is probably a little more useful than normal when you don't have a sword.
Yeah, the first shield doesn't stop too much, but you have to get the first one to get the rest of them, right?
Yeah, and I would say most runners care about that fire shield more than the first or third one. All right, well, we've left our uncle here for over half an hour. I wonder if he's still doing okay here in the cave.
It's doing about as good as normal, which is about as bad as possible, I guess.
Well, he's still got some love for us, and HayfieldBay will get a health refill out of that, which is kind of convenient. Maybe not so important in this situation, but never hurts. In the meantime, we'll see shadyforce checking through the dungeon here in Palace of Darkness, soon to find his lamp, I imagine, because I can't see a reason he would skip the back. He is setting up to throw a bomb over the bridge. I don't think he's going to try to do a hammer jump here. Or will he?
Looks like he's doing it. He did get the big key, so could just grab everything in the Dark Maze right away. Well, unfortunately, mean that he will have to do it lampless, which if he went to the right side first would actually gotten the lamp in a dark room.
And I gotta say, his hammer jump, the double bomb strat, that's deceptively difficult. A lot of runners who play NMG will do that, and it's good for key sanity as well. He's clearly well versed in his dark room here for the maze and using his sword to good effect. So he won't lose a ton of time, but it is way faster with boots to just dash through. I am happy to see that he is not mirroring out of here, though, so that will likely lead to his lamp. At this point, lamp can only save him time, give him more information.
Yeah, getting a little bit stuck there for a little while, but I think he has found his way out here now. Or maybe not? Yeah, there we go.
All right, well, HayfieldBay hammering the escape sequence and the ball and chain guard alike. Is getting the heck out of there. Has some choices still available to him. There's a lot of world left for him to explore, having only done those 2 crystals.
Yeah, we'll see if he beelines straight for Sora here. He should know with the information available that will be go mode, and looks like he's heading towards Sora, which will be good. He will get both swords as well, which will put him in definite go mode. Looks like he might check the hobo here first as well, just to maybe a chance for another sword. How about that? What if every sword is a flipper slot today?
That would be pretty hilarious. Some waterlogged swords, pointy things that are at risk of being rusted. You know, it was interesting to see a menu to the shovel. I think he may have been attempting to toggle between the flute in case he had picked it up and not realized it.
Yeah, that might be the case. Oh shit, they don't have any magic, so can't use the cane here. That's unfortunate.
Well, he's definitely thinking his way through the situation. He's encountered a couple of weird roadblocks so far. He did not... Did he actually pick up his lamp?
I believe it did. Get both lamp and bombos out of the back. So he should be able to figure out fairly soon here about the go mode as well. Oh, you're right. Hayfield never did ice road cases. Gonna check that before Sora as well. We've been talking a little bit about their poker face and stuff like that a little bit earlier. Did see a smile on Hayfield's face when he did find that bombos and lamps, so I think that was like the only time that he had given away any emotions from getting these items, because that would be like the sign that this is going to be a very fast seed.
Yeah, and I have to imagine where the situation's reversed, where, you know, Hayfield was just struggling to find all these things, he would probably be a little bit more tense. Shady, for what it's worth, is definitely keeping his composure, but he's definitely in an awkward spot, trying to just figure out, you know, what he needs to do for that flute. I think he's aware of the Zora, but he wants to try and get everything done in his route as efficiently as possible, so it may be a while before he gets confirmation.
Yeah, the big sign will be if he staves and quit out of here. there's a smile from Hayfield, because now he's going to be in definite go mode when he gets that flute.
Alright, well, it's going to be a 41 and change minute go mode here. I think we've pretty much eliminated all possibility of doubt. This must be a flute, right?
Yeah, I can't see any other way. I mean, it could be a mushroom, but then that mushroom has to lead to the flute. That's about it.
Yeah, or I guess maybe powder to the bat to flute.
I don't think even powder would work, because we got both mitts and hammer up on the mountain.
Oh, yeah.
There it is. So Hayfield is in go mode now. We'll see what Shada decides to do here. He's gonna take care of Eastern first as well.
I gotta say, Walter, I mean, you can't expect that musical instrument to work very well if it's, you know, soggy, right?
He was just cleaning it, of course.
You know, that's the lore that I accept in this situation, absolutely. King Zora, quite the bard. So, fun fact for those of you out there who are playing in quick swap formats, if you hit L and R at the same time, it'll swap to the other thing in the item slot. So if you're trying to switch to flute from shovel, that's a good way you can save yourself an extra menu.
Yeah, And Hayfield can pretty much just choose and pick here in which order he wants to do the dungeons. Most of these dungeons are pretty good in Go mode. The only exception is potentially Meyer. Meyer could be super fast in Go mode. It could be a full clear too.
So it's going to take a lot, I think, in this scenario for shadyforce to catch up to HayfieldBay. I mean, while it is just a one dungeon advantage right now that shadyforce is behind, gathering the flute, knowing that he's in Go mode, it's going to basically depend, I think, on whether or not shadyforce can find routing advantages in Meyer and GT, and whether or not he goes to find that flute soon.
Yeah, I think the death in Skullwoods is actually gonna play a potential big part here, because we're gonna have to double back into that area again, which it could have been done with, and that could have gained him back some of that time where he went exploring.
Well, it's definitely going to be really nice for HayfieldBay here to have Canis Samaria here Canis Samaria and bombs available here in Swamp Palace. I don't know which diver down he prefers, but he's not stopping for any chests that are directly in his path.
Yeah. With this, the diver down definitely a good opportunity to pick up those two. Since we are on Master Sword and no silvers, we could see a fair amount of chests getting picked up by both runners here. But probably not going to go too far out of the way.
Good news for shadyforce fans out there, that cursor is submerging into a whirlpool. I gotta say, this really reminds me of Windows 95 days. Do we have confirmation on where that cursor comes from specifically?
Not to my knowledge, no. I think he's playing the invisible sprite and just forgot to not capture his cursor.
Fair point. You do have to keep track of what's on screen, so yeah, that may actually be the case. shadyforce, seemingly bemused by this flute, probably realized it early on and just didn't have a convenient opportunity earlier.
Yeah, did have some time clearing out the rest of Pod and then Eastern to think about what's missing in the logic and figure out it was Sora. And then, of course, nice to get the confirmation that you made the correct play of going back there.
Well, so only a few minutes separation of go modes between these two. Not necessarily outside of the margin of error for execution, although I think HayfieldBay is a heck of a racer to try and catch up to on that front.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest chance of catching up is that execution and some of the routing in Gannis Tower. But yeah, shadyforce is definitely a beast when it comes to execution, which is proven from the NMG times.
Yeah, it was always fun to watch him. I mean, even since 2018's NMG tournament, a contender there. And he's obviously only gone up from there. So we've seen quite a few of his strats in rooms and just general movement pay off in that direction. I'd be very interested to see if shadyforce can find an extra sword or something else like that. I mean, if he takes the time to find, silvers or a tempered sword, or even more safety, that may actually play a role as well. Well, perhaps HayfieldBay realizes that Swamp Palace is a great place to hydrate, as having taken down Argus, taking a sip of his drink, maybe feeling in command of this seed.
Yeah, I think you can't feel too bad if you get go mode at like 41 minutes or something like that. But then at the same time, you might be potentially scared of like, what if my opponent did the same route I did, but just a bit more efficient. Doing a little bit of a misfloat here, not very good. You want to save as much time as possible here, but Hayfield being a little bit ahead might not cost him too much.
If I had to guess, this is him exercising caution about extra mountain climbs. After all, he doesn't need Turtle Rock or Tower of Hera. Quite the interesting combo, actually.
Yeah, kind of crazy when that happens. The rest of the mountain, though, was pretty explosive in terms of progression, at least.
Beyond that, that will send him to Skull Woods, as we see Shadyforce very quickly taking off Lamolus off of this tracker, as he will be able to burn him down very quickly here. Even using extra fire rod shots to try and get through this room quickly. I think he realizes that he needs to out-execute his opponent over that Skull Woods death.
Yeah, and then probably realizing that he wants some magic for the boss, though, so double back for that one extra magic container. So we'll have exactly enough shots now if it lands all of them to get the one cycle here. Oh, a little bit of a unfortunate jump there, but still has the magic for the second bar there. Oof, unfortunately misses that too, though.
Lamolus RNG, not a friend today.
Yeah, especially when you have like just that one Lamolus left, you get so many more rocks flying around, so a little bit easier to get hit by them as well.
On the bright side, he didn't have to do NMG Lamolus with the bow and arrow.
Yeah, that's one scary fight, that's for sure.
It's where everybody's run comes to die. Alrighty, well, we have a similar fight here as Shadyforce's with Mothula, though he has a lot more health to work with. He will attempt hammer strats. And if I recall correctly, I believe Hayfield does have a red potion. Alright, well that's Mothula down. The hammer basically effectively a tempered sword in regards to that fight. Putting it to good use, getting early swings in. Only the one fire rod shot available to him, and really more just to pull him off the wall than anything. So I think we're hearing from chat that there might not be a Bombos pickup for Shadyforce in Palace of Darkness. If that's true, this is really big for the race.
Yeah, if that's true, that's a deal breaker for sure, because Shady won't be going back into pod until pretty much forever, but and he didn't go into Mire after Desert, so
it may just be a thing where, like, you know, yeah, he's checking locations. I think that's actually the case.
we must have miscounted the keys in pod, something like that, in order for that to happen. That's really sad, because definitely gonna be kicking himself about that slight mistake afterwards, for sure.
Yeah, maybe a consequence of having done the hammer jump and then having one less key to go right side with it, maybe?
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. Because normally you would have two keys if it's a small key in Harmless Hellway, but with already expending one key, those numbers kind of change a little bit.
Well, that's definitely going to give HayfieldBay an opportunity to really pull ahead with those silvers as well.
Wow, 3 silvers when you have Master Sword, that's always nice to see.
Definitely for the Ganon fight more than anything. Of course, here in Misery Mire, you definitely want better weaponry than, say, just your Master Sword for Vitreous. So that'll be a very smooth fight. The thing is, though, is he doesn't have a lot of arrows to work with, and so he may not even bother using those silvers against the smaller eyeballs.
Yeah, that is fair. Does have a cape, so it could spin a couple of extra times standing in the goo by utilizing that. There is 5 arrows at the very least you can pick up here in Mire, but they're a little bit out of the way. Especially when the big key is over here.
Well, good news for Shady picking up a tempered sword in Swamp Palace, which I would have guessed that was by the Diver Down location that Well, he must have found it somewhere in here. I don't know
What's
where.
the south of the big chest? I think it's the vanilla compass chest.
Yeah, and Hayfield had no reason to check that. He was already in go.
Yeah, if I had to choose between those silvers or tempered, I would pick bombos every day.
You pick Bombos over the silvers or tempered?
Yeah, at least in the seed.
Wasn't expecting that. Yeah, I'm sure Shady will feel that way after the race as well. But for combat, I definitely prefer the tempered over silvers. I would agree with Chad on that one.
Yeah, against Ganon and just in general, tempered is definitely more speeds things up a bit more than silver does.
Well, an unfortunate minor kerfuffle that we've all had here in Misery Mire for HayfieldBay, having no need to have hit the switch earlier, forgets that he didn't already actually hit the switch, hadn't double back. I can't think of a single person who's ever go moded Mire and not done this. And that'll actually put him in a slightly less healthy situation. It's really going to depend on how well his magic stretches here for the cape. He should have enough, but has to be careful.
Yeah, it does have the fairy, but it doesn't want to expend it for sure. Want to be able to save that, and just overall the fairy animation kind of takes a bit of time as well.
Interesting. We're going to see some bomb throws as well. Now, this is truly a resourceful fight.
Playing it safe. I know Hayfield has a lot of experience of playing some of the more out there modes, including like some like Randomizer expert kind of deals. So definitely knows how to deal with these bosses in all the possible combinations.
Also, I mean, let's just say, we're theory casting here. Let's just say that, Shady does figure out that Bombos and ends up getting to it quickly. I know for a fact that he has a zero-cycle Vitreous tempered fight. I would be very interested to see if he would be able to save a lot of time off of that over Hayfield. I think he may have spent an entire minute on that fight.
Yeah, that would definitely be a nice time save. But Hayfield is gonna save so much time from just go moding all of these dungeons though. Looks like we have a Lemolos coming up here for Hayfield, and after that it's really only Ice Palace left before Ganon's Tower.
Yeah, so barring some kind of catastrophe in GT or maybe against Cold Stare would be the one death to avoid. He does have that fairy to work with, but that would be the more costly time expenditure.
Yeah, and I feel like one of the big issues with the Bombos being in pod is if Shady did miscount the keys, then he won't really have a reason to like pretty much ever go back there until he has done like everything else in the seed. And even if he didn't forget about it and it was a calculated skip because you had 2 medallions already, just by definition of skipping that and having so many better options in terms of item and density, probably not going to go back to pot anyways.
Yeah, you'd probably see him go to Dark Death Mountain for Hookshot Cave, any number of other dense locations. I mean, maybe even Turtle Rock.
Yeah, honestly, Turtle Rock is probably pretty enticing play in terms of just trying to get that Bombos.
All right, well, no saved cycles here for HayfieldBay. Unfortunately, Lamolus having a short hop on that third worm. I think you can tell Shadyforce is definitely feeling that his opponent probably has a better shot of getting this seed, just because he's still looking for items here at about an hour in. I think the dread that you have when you feel like you're missing just one thing, is highly relatable to anybody who's played in competitive Zelda.
Yeah, it's a good feeling of being one item from go mode, but it's not a good feeling when you're like one item away from go mode 20, 30 minutes later.
Well, converging paths here for different reasons. Shadyforce having finished everything here in Ice Palace, HayfieldBay an Icebreaker and just dive down real fast. Do we see the poke dash strat? Nope, just going for slashes here. Shadyforce, despite getting a little bit bullied out of the corner, has a very clean wrap up. Good cold stare fight.
Yeah, it's one of those things where sometimes in the randomizer you see people go for a little bit more safe strats. Just because in comparison with like an NMG run, your run doesn't die if you do like one slight mistake. So sometimes just playing it overall a little bit safer can be more worth it. You're not really allowed to reset if you take a death.
Yeah, like I mean, the worst thing too in an NMG run is like you gotta find magic. You just don't have the same breadth of options unless you're taking lots of safeties that NMG runners typically don't.
Yeah, for sure.
So usually you end up going like Swamp instead, and you can rely on that choice. No, in Randomizer, you just kind of want to be done with it forever. Alright, well that's a remaining water check for Shadyforce as he's considering his options, weighing his choices. I believe he's heading back to Skull Woods here.
Looks like it. I don't know if we left an item there or not, but at least even if we didn't, it's just an opportunity to just collect your thoughts, think about what the next play is while you're doing something you're gonna have to do anyways. With the Tempered Sword, it's never really gonna be much faster than it is now.
Yeah, it's a much more comfortable fight. A nice spin clip for HayfieldBay there for that staircase. But I know that Shadyforce did check under the bridge on his way out of the dungeon earlier, so if there's an item, it would be on Mothula, and he'd be eliminating all items for the dungeon, I'm pretty sure. You know, despite this being a medallion hunt for Shadyforce, still pretty efficient in this seed. Done a whole lot of the world already. We'll get a Bombo Shell destruction here from HayfieldBay, opting to save some of his magic for Fire Rod. Another safety strat, as you mentioned, he only has Master Sword at his disposal. I agree with this choice.
Yeah, and if this race continues on the track it is right now, Hayfield and Shadyforce would both be 1-on-1 after 2 races each here. And Nimban, which were both of their opponents yesterday, would also be 1-on-1. So this group is shaping up to be quite close so far.
Yeah, it remains to be seen what we're going to see out of JP and Files, both excellent runners in their own right, as we see simultaneous boss kills from our 2 runners today. I'm very excited to see what comes out of this group.
Yeah, I think JP took a win against Files yesterday, and I believe that Files and Nimban might be playing today as well.
Yeah, so we'll have a leader and a currently last ranking player at some point today. It's still up in the air for everybody though.
Yeah, with group stages like these are made out, it's really anyone's game.
So while we have that opportunity to talk about SG Live's format, of course, this is a 5-player group stage. Every group, comprised of that, and only 2 of them are going to advance out of the group stage to make it to the elimination bracket. I believe it's Friday, right?
Yes, should be Friday, and on Sunday we should have the winner of the Link to the Past tourney, I think.
Yeah, this is one of the fastest tournaments around.
Yeah, so there's going to be like somewhat of a million matches in between here and then.
I don't envy being a runner, but I mean, there's a lot on the line here.
The stakes are definitely a bit higher in this than they normally are, since there is cash prizes for the top 8 runners, I think.
All right, well, HayfieldBay making his way to GT. I guess we should play that game, right?
Oh yeah, right. There's a little bit of a game we like to play here in Link to the Past Rando, because there is 22 locations in Gannis Tower where the big key of Gannis Tower could be. Since it's randomized, it could be any of those, so just guess a number between 1 and 22, and we'll see who's correct.
It would seem the bot is not functioning, so we will play for posterity here. What do you think, Walter?
I don't know. I think I'm gonna say 4, because I somehow won twice with that recently, so I guess I'm just gonna keep that number forever. Kind of works well with my name anyways.
Gotta let it ride, and I think that's on brand. That's a good point. I will guess 14, because I've always been a fan of Bob. Which, I feel like is an outdated guess, because, people really don't go full left anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, it used to be like the great equalizer, where even if you went full left or full right, Bob's chess was kind of okay for either decision.
Alrighty, well, Hope Room, aptly named because you really hope to find the big key here, and he will actually today. Number 1. Hope Room giving us exactly what we were wishing for. We, of course, do still need to find a small key. In order to be safe, you could find a small key upstairs, but I don't think any runner in this position is going to feel bad about going all the way to this key here.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, normally, like, the fast seats tend to have, like, the big key really deep in Gannis Tower, just to not let you have a too fast seat, but no, not this one.
Well, as we saw shadyforce take out Moldorm, getting that other pendant, he is going to make his way over to Turtle Rock. So by this rate, I think we're probably going to see him enter Thieves Town after this, and whether or not he'll find that Bombos before HayfieldBay.Duns. I mean, I kind of don't expect that. Hayfield's already making us climb.
Yeah, Turtle Rock is a pretty slow dungeon too, and probably heading to Hera after this, since you're already up on the mountain.
I gotta say, though, this is an incredible finish time if HayfieldBay has a good climb and a good Ganon fight. If there's another sword here, too, that would be really nice. He may still end up checking the chests along his way. As the 2 or 3, or I guess 4 that are in his path, they're pretty easy to get. And the benefit's huge, if you find a tempered sword in there.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely worth it, I think. And since Hayfield has been doing a couple of extra checks already, wouldn't be too surprised to see that happening. Shoutouts to our tracker, by the way, calling me out on Hera actually already finished by Shady. Probably did it so fast that I didn't even realize it. Yeah, definitely big shoutouts to our tracker for just like tracking this race overall, making the experience for everyone so much better.
Yeah, big thank you to Yunker's wife for that. And then, of course, big thanks to SpeedGaming for putting this event on. This is a lot of fun. And big thanks to you, Walter. I didn't expect to have you joining me on the mic today. It was a lot of fun. It's been a while since we had a chance to share a commentary.
Yeah, same dude. It's always a fun time for me.
Well, speaking of fun times, you can see it on his face, even if it's a bit of a poker face. HayfieldBay looking pretty excited in this situation. I'm trying to read into the micro expressions at this point.
Yeah, we see him glancing a little bit. He might have the race room open just to see if his opponent is done yet or not.
You would think if you're in GT in an hour and 6 minutes, your opponent probably is too.
Yeah, and like, there is, I know a lot of runners have the tendency of thinking they're like almost always behind, because no matter how well you play, you're always going to do mistakes in a run, either micro mistakes or sometimes larger ones. So there's always that feeling in the back of your head of like, maybe my opponent did less mistakes than I did and had like a little bit more efficient routing than I did.
Yeah, I think that's the most relatable thing in Zelda Randomizer for sure. There's always somebody who god routes things, and I would say HayfieldBay definitely pulled that off today.
Yeah, he definitely found a very nice route for this.
Well, as he makes his way into Moldorm 2, Shadyforce working on pokies. He's practiced all of the RNGs for this, but that will not be enough to give him any opportunity here.
Yeah, Turtle Rock won't really have anything that we need. Best case scenario would be like a gold sword maybe, but even that wouldn't really help Shady very much. He would only like speed up Shrinex for him at this point.
Oh, I think he's leaving Turtle Rock. This is an interesting decision. I kind of want to ask him about this in an interview if we get an opportunity. Oh no, Mimic Cave. He's doing that after the chest. That's smart.
Yeah, when you're one item from go mode, it can be worth to check the big chest first, because that would be slightly more efficient if that's your go mode. But yeah, unfortunately, it won't be in either of those.
Well, we may have seen a triple on the first cycle of Aghanim 2. It could have been eaten up by happening simultaneously, and I think that was the case. But that'll be enough for HayfieldBay to make his way to Ganon at 1 hour and 9 minutes.
He's looking pretty comfortable in his stance here as well. Like, win or lose at this situation, if he were to lose at this point, he would know that he made it very close at the very least. But yeah, as we see right now, he's very likely going to take the win.
It would be tough to fathom at 1 hour and 10 minutes again, and that you feel like you're much behind at least. I mean, but there's definitely always that lingering fear in the back of your mind, just like you were saying before. You know, you're going to glance at that racetime.gg page, SRL, SRTV, whatever it was over the years. I think we've all fallen to that rhythm at some point in our racing.
Yeah, for sure. He even picked up like magic or like a potion before heading here as well, so he's like a little bit extra safe here on the fight. Does have the cape, and so can use the cape to get some extra spins in and then refill his magic with the potion.
I think the big thing that helps him as well is that he has silvers to work with. Master Sword Ganon can be a bit of a scary fight, no matter how good you are at the game. But having the silvers just makes the 24 spins that you would have to do otherwise in the last phase way more comfortable. You can just do the 4 and get silvers.
Yeah, for sure. And with the cape, getting those extra spins in already in phase 3 here. He just has to be keep his cool here. Get the last of the hits in.
Alrighty, he gets the blue Ganon. He's going to get 1 arrow out of this and Torch Glitch. Cannot actually get a good placement for other arrows, though, thanks to not having the time to charge a spin, but we'll get a second arrow in.
Yeah, it's going to have to light the torch one more time here, but just need 1 more silver head and it should be roasted pig time here for us. There we go. Get your GGs in for HayfieldBay. Guess we won't have the super official time, since the race rooms I think are a little bit hidden during this tournament. But it's gonna finish with around 1:11:42, 43 maybe.
Yeah, that's about right. And you can see the look of relief on HayfieldBay's face here. Trying to, just chill and relax nerves. I can relate to that. And it looks like Shadyforce has also seen the dot done, so he had his eye open for what was going on. And I think he saw this coming. I mean, he's a good racer in his own right. He knows that he'd missed something.
Yeah, and at this point, when you're like not even in go mode when your opponent finished, it's definitely no one's gonna blame anyone for forfeiting at that point because you know you have a lot of ground left to cover.
Well, nevertheless, a great showing from both of our runners. In the chat, you can see with the exclamation mark R command, you can give these two a follow. I would definitely keep an eye on both of them. Even though HayfieldBay takes the win today, this is a group stage match, so they still have a lot of round robin playing to do. And I would not be surprised to see shadyforce come out of this and make it to the bracket. Despite this one slip up today, he's a contender in my eyes. Like, definitely somebody I would look at for the rest of this group. HayfieldBay, though, with a commanding victory today at an hour and 11 minutes. That's one of the fastest seeds I've ever seen.
Yeah, that's a very nice time to have for sure.
Do we have time for interviews, or do we probably got to figure that out, don't we?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't even know if we can. I'll see if we can get in touch with them.
Alrighty, well, just as a recap while we're doing that of the group, since this is Group M here in the, if you're looking at the challenge page, Nimban, HayfieldBay, Bruce Van JP, shadyforce, and Files are in this group. This does take both of our runners today to 1-1, if I'm correct from earlier, or if I'm parsing this correctly. The challenge page itself is a lot of stuff to keep up with, so you're not going to see the records on that until they get a chance to update it, but definitely keep an eye on the rest of the schedule for this. This is plenty of gameplay left within this group, and I would argue one of the more interesting groups to watch. Taking a look at the rest of the schedule here on SG Prime, the channel you're tuned in currently for SG Live. Coming up after this, looks like, I believe 10 a.m. They may start earlier. We have the SGL 2020 Mega Man X competition. Afterwards, Super Mario Odyssey Bingo. Beyond that, Super Metroid DAB. And then we'll have another Link to the Past randomizer race here on this channel at, I believe, 1:20. Or at least that's when it'll start with the delay factored in. Additionally, we'll have Ocarina of Time randomizer at 6:20 p.m. Eastern Time and Zelda 1 randomizer at 10:15 p.m. Eastern Time. And that's just on this channel. SG Live is also broadcasting pretty much all day throughout the other channels. We'll have... Well, actually, there is a Super Mario Bros. 3 randomizer at 3:05. I missed that. Between this and SpeedGaming 2, as well as the other channels showing some of the Link to the Past randomizer league, specifically SpeedGaming 3 and SpeedGaming 2.
Yeah, it's a lot of speed gaming coming up for sure. It looks like we will have our runners coming in for a little bit of post-game talk here as well.
Alrighty, and we are joined by both of our racers, actually. GG, gentlemen, this is a fantastic race to watch.
Hey, GG.
Yo, GG, you guys. GG.
Yeah, GG's for sure.
So I gotta say, this is one of the faster seeds I've witnessed in recent memory. Of course, I think at this point you guys have probably had an opportunity to talk a little bit about it. Really, the only massive separation here was just the Bombos in Palace of Darkness. Beyond that, though, really shaped up to be like the 1 hour 10, 1 hour 15 that we saw out of Hayfield. How are you guys feeling about this? Hayfield, I mean, that's got to be a fast finish for you.
Yeah, this was a really fast finish because we got a really early go mode. So in the early game, I decided to sequence break the mountain after I got a hook shot. Then I got hammer and mitts, started checking Dark World, and when I got the bow in Village of Outcast, I knew my next play would be Eastern and Pod. So after I got my lamp, I knew my mountain access was flute, which had to be in the early light world. So I started looking for it. But I laughed when I got 2 swords in Waterfall Fairy. And I knew by then Sora had the flute. And that was my go mode. And later on, I was very happy to see the silvers in Meyer, but I didn't have enough arrows for Vitreous, and that felt really bad.
Yeah, I was gonna say, execution in a lot of situations came down to how you guys could respond to the equipment that you had. Something to point out to you, Shady, is that you had found those swords considerably earlier than HayfieldBay, affording you the opportunity to do some better strategies like better item dashes. Your peg cave, for example. I'm sure Hayfield probably regrets the not having the swords for that. But Shady, it was nice to see some of these faster boss executions because of that.
Yeah, I know. But then I died in Moth, and that was really sad. I guess I don't know if that was pretty late in the seed. Was the damage done by then?
It was a separation point at that point, but really the Bombos is what did you in.
Well, you see, I don't actually think it was. I think it was the Moth death. And the reason I say that is because if it's a super short seed and I die to Moth, I can make maybe a little bit of time in the GT climb, but I'm not gonna make up a full Moth death. So I have to kind of hope Bombos is buried. So when I was in Pod and I find the lamp and I know that Flute is on Zora, because that was literally my only check left after the Light World, and I have 2 medallions, I probably should have checked Harmless Hellway because it's right there. But I did skip a couple of items in the front of Pod as well, just because of the way the keys were. And I kind of, like, if Bombos is in one of those, then I've lost the seed already because of the Moth death. So I have to go and do other good checks like Hera and TR, but like maybe something that Hayfield might not get to right away. So I feel like I had to do it that way.
Yeah, it was interesting because Walter was talking about that. It seemed like a calculated decision from his perspective, and now that we've had the opportunity to ask you about that, so I mean, you were really running the numbers in your mind about how much time you would have lost from Mothula, and so you would have definitely checked that had you not had the death then.
Harmless, I should have checked no matter what. That was just a mistake, and that was obviously the one that had Bombos. I realized later on, which is really sad. But I probably would have just, I don't know, I probably would have just skipped the front 2 items anyway, gone to get flutes, gone to Meyer area. You can't really full clear seeds for a medallion. You might not even need, 2/3 of the time. So you have to just go and try and beat the seed fast in case it's a super fast seed like this one. So you can't really clear everything. You have to take some gambles.
Well, I gotta say, it really speaks to the caliber of this race and this group. I believe this puts the both of you at 1-1.
Yeah, I lost
Yeah,
yesterday.
that's right. Me, Hayfield, and Inban have all taken 1 game each of the 3 of us.
Well, this is really exciting to see. Now, I'm a little less acquainted since I'm not in the actual, groups myself. How many races total do you guys have to do?
We have 2 more, 4 in total.
Yeah, 4 total.
Wow, so things really heating up in Group M. I'm really excited to see what's going to happen in this group. This is a stacked group as far as I can tell.
Yeah, it's really good players. So it will be some tough upcoming races. Like even before we started, we felt like everyone could advance from this group. Basically.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's 5 evenly matched players as well. Like everyone's around the same level, so it can go anyway.
Well, I do want to ask, starting with you, Shady, do you have any other matches scheduled at the moment?
Yeah, I've got a match on Monday. I guess it's afternoon Eastern, but it's evening for me. And then on Tuesday, an hour later.
And what about you, Hayfield?
Yeah, I have a race tomorrow. It's probably 11 a.m. Eastern, and my last will be on Wednesday, 4 p.m. I think.
Getting them done early. I like to hear it. I've taken up like most of this interview, Walter. I'm sorry if you have any questions.
No, I mean that kind of works for me. I'm always bad with coming up with these questions, but this was a super exciting race for sure. Kind of became a little bit clear after Pod how it was going to shape up, but it was definitely an interesting seed, especially with like both of your advantage, or not advantage, but like game knowledge of finding out where the flute had to be.
I think that's the first time ever like logic has actually nailed down where an item had to be. Like, because a lot of people are really good at following logic, and I'm just like, I just go where the density is. But this is the first time ever I think that's happened.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
kind of crazy because you did, Shady, you did everything except for Sora before you went into the Dark World, which was in terms of like logic. So as soon as you found the lamp there, it like pretty much had to be fluid on Sora at that point for your part.
But
Yeah,
we
most-
didn't have enough rupees in the start. So I decided not to do fake flippers. So it didn't even check Ice Road Cave. I just wanted the money first.
Yeah, Hayfield got a little bit of like an early advantage from his early game routing. Went to desert a little bit earlier, and therefore went up to the mountain a bit earlier as well. But it looked like Shady might have had a little bit of an edge at that point because you got the mirror from Eastern, but then we found the bow pretty quickly in the Dark World as well.
Yeah, just kind of the way the seed goes sometimes. I got lucky with the routing yesterday against an in-band, so it's fine. It's fine if it works out not in my favor this time. All these races are going to be kind of coin flips or close races anyway.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, you can't call it randomizer if it gets too predictable, so sometimes just have to go with a little bit of a coin flip and where to go early game.
It's just my luck that the bad race is the one on restream, though. That always happens.
I mean, unfortunate result, but I wouldn't call it bad. You definitely put on a good display.
I mean, the 5-head plays, just make it out of groups and you'll get more chances on restream.
Just find all the items.
But yeah,
Well, let's-
definitely GG's to both our runners.
Definitely want to echo that sentiment. It was a lot of fun to watch this race. And folks, if you haven't had an opportunity yet, you got to see them in the flesh today, which is fun. Nice part of SG Live. Definitely check out their personal channels. Give them a follow. They're going to continue racing as we were discussing before. So this is not the end of the road for either of them, and they still have a lot of climbing left to do. As a reminder, basically on Friday is when the groups will be over, and then the two best in the group will advance to the single elimination bracket. Hopefully to win some cash prizes this weekend. SG Live, one of the few events that offers that. Shadyforce and HayfieldBay coming out of Group M. I'm really excited to see what's coming from there. Of course, if you're looking for more Randomizer on this channel, you'll see Dr. Martio versus In the Name of DT at 1:20 p.m. Eastern Time. Illis versus Will J. Bradley at 4:20 p.m. on SG2. And then we'll have Relkin versus Fear Agent at 11:50 p.m. Apologies to our runners and my fellow commentator for using Eastern Time. I'm like the only person in this call that does that. Or that even applies to.
I mean, Eastern Time is pretty much random time as well, so.
Well, any closing thoughts from our runners today before we wrap this up?
GG, good luck in the next one.
Yeah, GG. It is exciting to be a part of SG Live. Many good racers participating, so looking forward to next races. And yeah, if I advance from the group stage, it would be really nice. But really good opponents.
Excellent sentiments from the two of you, and fully agree on that front. A little bit of end of the stream business to take care of. Of course, we do want to thank our tracker today, Yoinker's wife, for keeping us on the straight and narrow, making sure we know exactly what kind of information's in front of us, as keeping track of two streams and talking gets a little bit... we get tongue-tied and often say the wrong thing. I'm going to say that about me, not you, Walter. You're usually pretty on the ball. And then, of course, Walter for joining me on the mic. Definitely a pleasure to do this commentary with you. And for all of you viewers for tuning in, Speed Gaming is what it is today because of all of your interest continuously in the events, in these races. It's a lot of fun to be a part of. And if you're looking to get involved, check out the SG Live Discord. There is definitely a need for more volunteers on all fronts, for race administration, for commentary tracking. There's plenty of event left to go. Got any remaining thoughts on the race? Anything else, Walter, before we sign off?
Not really that I can think of, to be honest. Definitely GG's again, and can't wait to see more of these SGL random races happening.
Alrighty, folks. Well, stay tuned. About another hour from now, we'll see our next event here on this channel. Plenty of other things going on in the Speed Gaming Network. I've been Udiamonistic, joined today by Walther. Folks, have a wonderful day and stay fast.